I've heard a lot of strange stories over the years. Creepy, chilling, fascinating. But nothing compares to the night I lived through pure terror. On the edge of my little town, there's a back road everyone calls the bank. It's tight, winding, and dangerous. When another car comes towards you, you have to hug the edge just to squeeze by. And on one side, thick woods press in. On the other, a steep drop leads to a dark, rushing creek. The legend goes back about 60 years. A woman was driving alone down the bank late at night. People say she fell asleep at the wheel. Her car was later found mangled by the creek, but she herself was never seen again. Some claim she was thrown through the windshield into the water. Others whisper she crawled out and staggered straight into the current. However it happened, everyone agrees she drowned. In the creek, locals swear it's bottomless, and that's why her body was never recovered. Afterward, the sightings began. Drivers swore they saw a pale woman standing on the roadside, vanishing the moment they slowed. Others said she appeared inside their cars, silently riding along in the dark. Her story spread until everyone knew her name, the Lady of the Bank. A few months back, I went to a gathering near that area. Later that night, I heard there'd been a wreck on the main road. Traffic was completely shut down. I was exhausted, desperate to get home, so I chose the bank as a shortcut. I'd taken it plenty of times in daylight, a handful of times at night. Yeah, but never alone. The stories I'd grown up with weren't even on my mind. I had other worries spinning in my head. I drove carefully, music low, tires hugging the curves. And then the only thing I feared was a deer darting out of the woods. That's when it happened. A loud ding shattered the silence. My heart nearly exploded. The seatbelt warning light glowed red. It meant someone wasn't buckled in. I quickly touched my belt. It was tight, locked in place. Panic spread through me as I glanced at the passenger seat and froze. For the briefest second, a figure was sitting there. Long, soaked strands of black hair draped over its face. Skin pale, head tilted forward, staring out the windshield, as if it had always been there. I screamed and slammed the brakes. Tires screeched. My body snapped forward, then back, held by the belt. My heartbeat thundered in my ears as I turned my head. The seat was empty. The dinging had stopped. The warning light was dark. I stomped on the gas, speeding through the curves, hands shaking, every shadow in the trees watching me. Somehow I made it home, but my chest was tight with panic the whole way. Since then, I've told my family and a few locals what happened. Not one person doubts me. They all say, the Lady of the Bank tried to hitch a ride that night. And though I feel sorry for her lonely soul, I'll never, ever drive that road alone after dark again. It was well past midnight, a cold night in late October, deep in Potmarmac Overlook Regional Park, Arlington, Virginia, our home since we were born. There were 4 of us that night. Me, my brother, 2.5 years older, always dragging us into adventures, and our 2 closest friends. One was born a day younger than me, always by my side. The other, closer to my brother's age, part of every scheme since we were kids. A full moon hung high above, so bright, it lit the forest like daylight, silver glow filtering through drifting clouds, casting shadows across the oaks and beaches, leaves red and gold in the autumn chill. We had no cell phones, no flashlights. Back then, you didn't, but the moonlight was enough. We wandered a 1/4 mile past the park's center, near the fork in the trail, then veered off into the canopy of the woods. These woods were our backyard, but later, I'd learn, this was close to the Donaldson family's old cemetery. Graves moved long ago. We didn't know that then. We were just kids, messing around in a small clearing. building something from sticks and branches. A secret spot. Ours. We were laughing. Tossing sticks. Voices echoing through the trees. The moonlight showed everything. Bark, leaves, even the faint babble of the creek 100 yards below. But then the woods changed. The air turned colder. Leaves rustled. Footsteps moving through the trees, down the hill, toward the creek. Not cicadas, not wind, something else. It made our skin crawl. We stopped joking. Silence. My brother's confidence was gone. His eyes searching the darkness. My friend, the one my age, stepped closer, fidgeting with a stick, face uneasy. The older friend stood rigid, staring down the slope, shoulders tense. We all felt it. Something was out there. The moon lit the clearing, but the shadows below looked darker, deeper. We froze, listening, rustling, closer. Then whispers from all around us, circling louder near the creek. I scanned the clearing, every leaf, every branch. Nothing. My friend clutched my sleeve, breathing fast, eyes wide. The other clenched his fists, muttering under his breath. These woods, our woods, didn't feel like ours anymore. Then we all turned, as if pulled by something, down the hill, toward the creek, and saw her. A woman climbing the slope, robes glowing in the moonlight, old clothes, colonial, pale. Later, we'd call her the White Witch, but in that moment, she was pure hatred. Her anger hit us like a wave, freezing us in place. We couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I whispered to my brother, "What is that?" My friend whispered, "Is that real?" The older one stayed silent, jaw tight. We all thought the same thing, but we didn't dare speak it. We ran, branches snapping, breath tearing out of us. My brother glancing back at me. My friend stumbled, caught himself. The other stayed near, scanning the trees. Then a cry of pain. The older friend grabbed his arm. Fresh scratches, bleeding, but nothing had touched him. We didn't stop. We burst onto the gravel road, then the paved one, hearts hammering. We thought we'd lost her, turned back, but there she was, still coming. We ran harder, faster, up the hill, into the parking lot, to the car. Doors slammed, engine roared. We sped off into the night. Only when the streetlights appeared did we let out a collective sigh of relief. The next day, we gathered, still shaken, still certain. My friend's mother overheard, her face pale. She pulled down an old book of local history, showed us the story. 2 witch sisters, tied to the Potomac Overlook, near the Donaldson Cemetery, haunting the land. Figures in white, exactly what we had seen, and the name they gave her was the same one we had chosen ourselves, the White Witch. When I was about 10 years old, my mom would take my brother and me to visit my grandparents at their ranch in Mexico. We were from Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, and we traveled to Coahuila to spend our school breaks there. One year, my grandpa got a new recliner chair, the kind you could actually sleep in. And to us kids, that was the coolest thing ever. My grandparents' house had 3 bedrooms back then. The house itself was a simple rectangle. The front door sat right in the middle, and once you walked in, there was a short hallway. My grandparents' bedroom was on the left. The back door was straight ahead. On the right was the second bedroom, and next to that, the third bedroom. That room stayed empty unless the whole family visited. And to reach it, you had to walk through the second bedroom first. No doors, just curtains hanging in the entryways. The kitchen wasn't even inside the house. It was a separate little building in the backyard. That was normal where they lived. That night, when it was time for bed, my mom slept with my little brother, who was about 5. Their bed was next to my grandparents' bed, and the recliner was right in front of them. I begged to sleep in it, and my grandpa said it was fine. Around 2 or 3 a.m., I woke up, thirsty, and then I heard footsteps outside the bedroom. I wasn't scared, not yet. I turned my head, and I saw legs. My grandma's legs, her shoes on her feet, walking back and forth from the front door to the back door. It confused me, but I didn't think much of it. So I whispered, "Grandma, can you get me a glass of water?" She would have had to walk out back to the kitchen to get it. I watched the feet stop, turn toward the back door, and start walking, but then they froze. I waited for the sound of the door opening. Nothing. Silence. I called again. "Grandma? Grandma?" And then, from only a few feet away, I heard her voice. From her bed, she said, "What happened?" She was still lying there. I screamed. Everyone woke up. I told them what I saw, but nobody believed me. They said I must have been dreaming. They checked the house. The doors were locked, and no one else was there. To this day, I wonder what I saw. I could swear it was my grandma, walking back and forth, but she was sleeping the whole time. I've had more creepy things happen since, but this one always stays with me. And if anyone out there has had something similar happen, I'd love to hear it. And hey, if you've listened this far and haven't subscribed yet, please consider it. It helps me, and it helps the algorithm, so I can keep bringing you more stories like this. Last month, my husband and I rented an Airbnb in Lello, Kentucky. The listing said the house was built in 1912. Once belonged to the town's doctor, Dr. Dutton, not known to be haunted. But we thought, why not? Let's stay. Let's ghost hunt. We had our 4-year-old son with us. He's on the autism spectrum. Doesn't use big words, speaks in single words. Short answers. Never makes things up. That mattered. Later, we were eating dinner in the dining room. Our son was wandering in and out of the kitchen, exploring. And then he ran back into the room, stopped, looked at us, and said, "Mr. Jimmy." My husband and I froze. That look parents give when something's off. I crouched down. "Did you say Jimmy? Yes or no?" "Yes." No Jimmy in his shows. No Jimmy in the family. No Jimmy at all. So I asked again, "Is Jimmy a little boy or grown up?" "Boy." We stepped outside, asked more questions. "Is Jimmy happy or sad?" "Happy." "Is he nice or mean?" "Mean." My husband pressed on. "Is Jimmy an infant? A boy or a teenager?" Our son didn't hesitate. "Teenager." That stopped us cold. 4-year-olds don't say teenager. They don't even know what it means. But ours said it, clear as day, and it felt wrong. That night after he was asleep, we set up some equipment. The EMF meter spiked. The REM pod blinked after nearly every question. And then a cat ball nudged forward. Once, my heart raced. I'm skeptical of these tools. But that night, it felt like confirmation. The next day, I dug into the history. Nothing unusual about the house. Doctors, shopkeepers, funeral parlors. But then I found it. A newspaper article, 1913. A freak accident at Lello Lagoon. Several people killed. And one of the names, James. Could that be him? Could Jimmy be James? Did Dr. Dutton treat the victims or clean up the aftermath? I don't know. There are a dozen ways to explain this. Ordinary ways. But when your child, who rarely speaks, looks you in the eye and says the name twice without prompting, it sticks. The next morning we left Lello. In daylight the house felt ordinary, but ordinary houses hide strange things. And I still don't know if we met Jimmy or just his echo. I remember it so vividly. I was 12 years old, and we had just moved into a new house in rural Missouri. It was winter. A cold school night, or really, a school morning. because I woke up suddenly at exactly 5:23 a.m., hours before my alarm. And that never happened. Not to me. I was always a heavy sleeper. My room was almost empty. A twin bed, a nightstand with my alarm clock, and an old bookshelf across the room. We had just moved in. The place still felt unfamiliar. I stared at the glowing numbers on the clock, half asleep, when a chill slid up my spine. It felt like someone was watching me. Slowly, I turned my head toward the foot of my bed, and that's when I saw it. A figure standing in the dark. It looked like my little brother, 7 years old, silent, still, just staring at me. I frowned. "Xander, what are you doing in my room?" "Get out." No response. "Xander!" I snapped again. But instead of answering, he stepped closer. Slow, deliberate steps. I leaned forward, and that's when I saw it. This wasn't my brother. It was a child, but not a normal child. Its face was blank. No eyes, no mouth, no nose. Just smooth, pale skin, inches from my face. I froze. And then I screamed. The thing jolted backwards, slamming onto the floor. My alarm clock tumbled with it. Then it crawled on all fours, spider-like, back into the corner near my bookshelf. It curled up, burying its faceless head into its knees. And that's when my mom burst into the room. The light flicked on. The corner was empty. It was gone. I was shaking, crying. I told her what I saw. She said it was only a dream, but I knew it wasn't. I pointed to my alarm clock, lying face down halfway across the room. She still didn't believe me, but she let me sleep in her bed. I didn't set foot in my room again for 2 weeks. I never saw the faceless child again, but the house wasn't quiet. We heard cups sliding across counters, bells ringing, children's voices. I'm 23 now, and when I think back, I know it was probably a child spirit, curious. And if that's true, I feel bad for it, but I'm still haunted by it. I asked my mom about it recently. She admitted she believed me back then. She was just too scared to tell me, too scared to make it real. And to this day, I still avoid looking into dark corners at night.